Hello and good afternoon. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Today is Tuesday because yesterday was a national holiday, President's Day. Mrs. Boom was home. So
Yes.
we start off the week kind of like already ahead. Tomorrow's Wednesday already. Listen, we have a lot to get into, folks. We're going to be talking about Helldivers. And I know
Ooh.
this is an Xbox podcast, but there are a lot of Xbox players trying to play this game and are uniquely
They need us.
frustrated. Yeah,
They
yeah,
need us,
they
Boom.
they 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 absolutely do, because what we learned, a couple of things that we learned, we talked about it briefly yesterday.
Mhm.
Um, the number of players for Steam versus the number of players for PlayStation for Helldivers is egregious, folks. And if you are a PlayStation player that listens to this show,
Mhm.
hopefully you bought the game like this Xbot did, and several of these Xbots that we have here that are actually playing it and quite enjoying it. It is amazing to me how they, and I say they because we don't name names here, folks. We don't have to do that to to make to be popular or have a conversation. There are plenty of PlayStation gamers who pretend that exclusives matter and that they're the holy grail of gaming. And what happens? A game like Helldivers comes out,
Mhm.
and out of the 4 million copies, 4 plus million copies sold, 3.8 million of those copies have been sold on Steam versus PlayStation 5. Like
Oh,
it's
uh,
bonkers to me.
man,
And look,
it's a wild number.
if you and Steel, we're going to get into numbers, because we have, when you talk numbers, well, you either mention Benji sales, which he will be brought up because we have a particular tweet that we're going to get into for him, but
Mhm.
you also bring up Matt Piscatella, another gentleman gamer, and unfortunately he had put out a tweet that apparently enraged PlayStation Nation to the point where harassment and
Mm,
bullying took
mm.
place, where he took down his tweet. Shocking, but disgusting all at the same time. Shout out to Matt Piscatella, who I absolutely love. That guy is aces, and same thing for Benji Sales, another gentleman gamer. But before we get into the topics, we got to welcome in the panel here, folks. We have Steel Rain, one half of the
Ooh,
dynamic duo known as Living Split Screen. Great
yes.
show. How you feeling, brother? How you feeling? What's new and what you got going on?
Well, Boom, as always, it's great to be back in the Xbox Factor Kingdom. We're gonna bleed green and just give it to you live, raw, and uncut, like I like to do. And man, I wish I could have been dropping down in my drop pod, but I got to get through the servers, man. And when I do get through the servers, unfortunately, my drop pod just falls through the ground to an unboundless nothingness
Yeah.
because I can't find anybody. It's just the first couple of days I got in, I was having a good time. Helldivers is a really good game,
Yes.
but when I'm spending a couple sessions, 45 minutes a piece at a time, um, lagging out due to server issues at the very end and unable to get back with that squad because I'm just dropping it with randoms, timing, right? And can't get my stuff back. Boom. It's upsetting. It's frustrating. I don't think it makes the game a 9. It's crazy how these things work, but nonetheless,
Yeah, we will
it's a
get into that
conversation.
as well. Steele, you brought up a great point, because how could a game be a 9 if you can't play said game?
Again, I mean, if there's only 100K people and it was good then, I mean, I get the point. But anyway, there's going to be a conversation. I know you got that set up for PlayStation's multiplayer strategy is in question, huh?
Yeah,
But
well,
nonetheless.
there's definitely no doubt about it that apparently, while creating this PlayStation Nation,
Mhm.
they seem to focus more on single player games, which they're phenomenal, right? That you got to
Yeah,
call spade a spade. They
absolutely.
make these movie like games that
Mhm.
a lot of people, including myself, love.
Mhm.
But at the same time, they seem to have not paid attention to the other half of gaming, and that is co-op and multiplayer, and they have a bona fide hit on their hands, and two very apparent situations have occurred, Infinite Umbra. One, their fans don't buy their first-party games or first-party exclusives, which is not surprising because that has been the standard fare. And their servers, the server help that is needed to make co-op games and multiplayer games run efficiently seems to be lacking thereof. How you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Oh, I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling good. Good morning to you and Steele, and good morning to the chat. Yeah, the problem definitely is their lack of foresight. I guess, to be fair, it's much like Power World. They didn't think it would have this much success, right? So that's part of the issue. And so they didn't have it more prepared, and they've come out and clarified and spoke on it, saying that it's not a matter of server issues, like they're not getting the servers corrected. It's manpower, apparently. So they didn't have more people put on this to expand those servers to allow more people in. So it's a problem on lack of foresight more than anything else. But it is frustrating though, because you're getting in there, and like Steele said, he got in there 45 minutes. If that would have happened to me, I probably would have returned the game.
Oh, it's multiple times. Yeah. It happens multiple times.
2 times would have been more than enough.
I mean, it usually is
after 45 minutes, and you got kicked.
It's multiplayer. Yeah,
Yeah, I would have.
That's the backbreaker. Yeah. Yep,
I get it.
Yeah, I would have lost my cool on that one. I've had it about 6 or 7 times, I would say, where in like 3 or 4 days in a row, where it would just do this cycling thing. Come back to it, it would do the cycling thing. It seems to work when I get home early and jump on. It might work then, but other than that, if I try to get on in the afternoon, it's over with. It's not getting in there. So it's frustrating. And some people, try to debate about it online. I will give some of our Hoove brothers credit. Some of them actually, were holding Sony to the fire for this. I'll give them
as they should.
Yep. Yeah. And to the CEO's credit, he flat out says that he spoke on it and flat out tells us that you should get it later. So I mean, they're being fair about it and telling us, hey, just get this game later. Don't get it right now. So that I'll give them that much too. Again, I think they're a victim of success, right? Where they didn't think it would be this popular. And it's like these things can be viral. This is viral. Power World went viral. Those types of things. I would say, like Hogwarts, for instance, is another game where I pointed to that went viral. But of course, it was other thing, protest buys too, right? But the virality of it is what helped escalate it even more. And the game is fun, like Steele said. You hear them shouting out, "Get some!" and then freedom.
It's very dude bro or bro dude, right?
Bro. It's absolutely
unabashedly so. And I love too, the homages to everything. You see Star Wars references, you see ODST, you see Halo references.
It's fire. It's fire.
Clearly the Halo references with the Pelican you get in and out to drop in to exfil out of.
It's a shame because this was pitched for ODST folks. P.S. by the way, we learned this from a former 343 developer that they had pitched numerous games, and there was one particular game with ODST personnel that was literally like Helldivers 2, and of course 343's horrendous management that was vetoed that. Very disappointing. I know that Mav last night on FSP had a whole conversation about how we need more Halo in our lives. That's not Halo Infinite, and that's 1,000% true. I don't understand how this Halo is the franchise. It is the key franchise of what makes Xbox, and we get one game every 5 or 6 years. It's unacceptable. I know people from Microsoft listening, and hopefully they figure that out, man, because you're getting shown up by this little team that could, and they made a really good game that is, inspired by a lot of games. And it's a shame that we don't have. I mean, look, folks. Here's the problem. And again, this conversation is going to go in a lot of directions. So buckle in. I don't like to dump on Microsoft, but I will when it's necessary. And these are one of those situations where, as an Xbox fan who only and mostly plays multiplayer and Halo multiplayer at that, I find it to be almost laughable that we are in 2024 and we have a Halo TV show, which is fire, by the way, much better than the original.
Season 2, far better.
10 times better. In fact, episodes 1, 2, and 3, Mrs. Boom and I watched them. Phenomenal. I'm looking forward to episode 4 because 4 is going to be meaningful in like a big way. And how don't we have like a single player game with ODST?
You should have so many different spinoffs with Halo. The potential. I've talked about this so many times. I've held spaces where I've had Halo fans come in and pour out their passion and tell us, you know, thoughts that they love to see 343 or whomever explore. And Microsoft has so many different teams. You have so many talented teams that are just there in the coal mines working on Call of Duty that could make some of these games. It's ridiculous to let so much potential go to waste. And seeing something like this should be eye-opening for them. Maybe it is. Maybe this will be
what it takes. Unfortunately, sometimes this is what it takes. And I think me and the boys was talking about it in the chat the other day. They were like, if Halo literally dropped that same game, dropped a Halo version of Helldivers, how quickly people would flock to that instead, just because of the known universe, the known enemy types. You can have the Flood, you have the Covenant, you have different things that you could come in and drop down. Like they could literally take that entire idea right now and make it a thing. But it took somebody showing that it could work to see it. It's just like Power World, right? Because of Power World success, now I can guarantee you Pokemon is probably going to put some kind of that, not with guns, of course, it's not that's not the direction they go, but they're going to put some kind of that, making it feel more like you're in that world because they see people want that now, right? Especially with the Switch 2 around the corner. It's just, sometimes it takes that for people to be innovative. That's the biggest thing. That's a downside to first party, where I love when second and third party comes in, or indie games come in, because they can do other things, right? So try things. Unfortunately, that's what it takes.
I got excited for a second. I'm like, we're gonna see Ash with the Uzi. All right.
That would be funny, for sure, but it would be very unlike. I mean, obviously there is a Pokemon event coming in the next day or two. I think I saw something about that. Plus, of course, the Nintendo Direct, which is expected to levy some potential Xbox games in there, and maybe that's why they were postponed. But let's, guys, I want to bring up this because, again, this is what enrages me as a human being. Not an Xbox fan, not a PlayStation fan, not a Nintendo fan, not a gamer, just as a human being. So Matt Piscatella, he's a numbers guy, folks. And if you're on the socials and you're in the conversations of video games, especially when it comes to numbers, you've come across Matt's work. And Matt, look, he doesn't pick sides, man. He just doesn't. Some people call him a pony, which I think is ridiculous. He's a numbers guy. Numbers don't lie, folks. I'm sorry, they just don't. So he put out a tweet, and shout out to Gaz from Game On Daily, of course, the source master himself, actually alerted me to this shenanigans we're about to get into. So just to show you how uninterested the diehard fans from PlayStation, who claim to be like these, god tier level fans where everything exclusive matters, and they're out there and they're waving the PlayStation flag, they're all full of shit. Because here's the numbers, folks. From Matt Piscatella's mouth, he says this from Circana's player engagement tracker: Helldivers 2 has been a huge hit, but it's mostly coming from PC. Of the daily active users on respective platforms, nearly 1 in 4 US Steam players are now playing Helldivers 2. That is pretty phenomenal. This is where it gets gross, folks. While fewer than 1 in 20 active PlayStation 5 players have bought and are playing Helldivers 2. What are we doing? But folks, if you think it ends there, it doesn't. Because Gaz put out a tweet, and he says, it didn't take even 60 minutes for my prophecy to come true. And his prophecy that he's talking about He says this, and he's being facetious, he's being funny, he's being gas. A
Mhm.
moment of silence for Matt Piscatella. I'm sure he's about to get invaded by NIBS and the PlayStation Nation. Well, turns out that is in fact exactly what happened.
NIBS,
Because
for those who don't know, that's nib.
yes,
Some have go on to start calling Chat GPT about how much he types out.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And he might be typing the responses.
But we
Copy paste.
thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. So check this out, folks. This is where I get saddened as a human being. Gas tweets out breaking. Matt Piscatella bullied by feral PlayStation fans to delete his tweet. Reports suggest Matt has been grateful for my accurate and sincere dissemination of his news, and he has a picture of what Matt Piscatella, who ultimately deleted the tweet, said. And this is coming from Matt Piscatella, folks. I thought it was an interesting trend to show, but yeah, it's being misinterpreted in all kinds of ways, and people are angry about it. Going to delete. This website is broken. I mean, just PlayStation fans being the knuckleheads and the ruiners of everything fun. And I'm not saying that there are not Xbots out there who I have blocked and I have muted because, well, they've been on not only recent tears of embarrassment,
Yeah,
but just ridiculousness.
Recent stuff has been real embarrassing.
It's been gross. It's been very sad to see people just implode over exclusives and stuff like that. Listen, we're not even going to get into it, but I'll go first to Steele on this. Steele, look, Matt Piscatella, he's not out here console warring. He's the numbers dude. But to see this kind of response is not surprising. It's disappointing because what it ultimately does is move our conversation from Helldivers is fantastic. I wish it was on Xbox. I'm not going to front. And the fact that it has such big problems, it's disappointing because it's literally failing the people that bought it. But then you have this on top of it. Very, very disappointing, ultimately.
Yeah, both ways is definitely disappointing. I mean, again, I want Helldiver success to definitely be boundless for sure. They hit a money mark with this, if anything, and it's definitely an extremely fun game, and it hits all the marks that we look for. I definitely need to see Sony, PlayStation, somebody jump in there to give them some assistance so we can get things up and running quicker. Because again, waste of time is waste of time. And Umber's point earlier, typically when the games do that to me, Redfall was the number one proponent for me recently, where you get in there with some playtime and you load it back up and it's 2 hours of lost progress, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not very interested in going back through what I just went through. So as far as just like the numbers overall go, it's not necessarily surprising to me to see that the numbers are more side on the favor of Steam, mainly because PC players love co-op type games, multiplayer type experiences. They always have. I mean, again, since I've been an online gamer, that started on PC for me, and then it transitioned to console with my love for Halo and Gears and so on and so forth. But I have had a lack in faith in PlayStation's lack of service and for some time, and their ecosystem doesn't necessarily give me faith that they're going to get Helldivers up and running in time. But again, I like to be optimistic about the situation. People are saying that this is Microsoft's fault, right? This supposedly Helldivers is running off of Azure servers. I haven't fact checked that myself, but it's just a narrative that I've been seeing a few people running. But because, of course, why not? If it has to be somebody's problem, I guess it has to be Microsoft's problem. Who else? But it is embarrassing to see people. I'm not gonna say it's not embarrassing for me, but I feel embarrassed for some people for how they end up treating themselves online, and how they respond to some people, especially when it comes to whether it's just facts getting put out there or, again, we're just having casual conversation, opinions going back and forth. Again, I'm sitting here playing these games, not playing on Twitter necessarily. So a lot of this could be avoidable, should be avoidable. And I'm just hoping for the best for the Helldiver team and to get these servers up and running as quick as possible. Because if I keep losing progress, Boom, I might have to uninstall. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know what happened to you a couple of times, which is egregious on every level, is that you make it to the end, and folks, if you haven't played it, you understand that you drop, you have very specific tasks that must be done in order to get an evac, right? But in the midst of doing these 2 or 3 tasks, sometimes it's kill a boss, sometimes it's get a planted gun up, fixed, and you load it with the different shells. Sometimes it's getting the communications going. It varies, and it's fun. In the midst of doing all of that, there are these things. There's lots of points of interest to find, and as a crew, you're running out to get these resources and to get more, hit points, more, experience points to level up. The more you do, the more you level up. And I've been leveling up I try to do everything on the map, which is great. But sometimes it's 45 minutes of your time, and if you're waiting for evac and you glitch out, that's gone. That's 45 minutes is gone.
That's just a joy killer. I couldn't even imagine. You know what happened to us? Me, Risk Kid, Blue, which is Holly, and my boy Vinny. We were playing. Well, before Vinny joined us, we played, and we did about 35 minutes on the map. Did all of the work, killed all these monsters from Starship Troopers, and as soon as we evac and get out of there, we got nothing. They didn't give us our points or anything.
Wow.
The samples, nothing. I'm still salty about that, but we went on to play one more game. Should. Yeah, it's just it's annoying, and this is the problem I've always had. Even beyond this is the problem I've always had with online always type games or always online type games. It's unpredictable, and especially if they don't have their servers in order. And Sony is behind the ball, and we all know that. Like Microsoft has been fast, and quick to get into that and to make sure their servers are solid. Now I know they're using Microsoft, but they have to pay for more of those services, which they weren't prepared for.
And the devs are saying it's not that easy either, apparently. And so there's all these other things. So it's like, okay, well, if you weren't expecting for it to be successful at all, or maybe you thought you might have needed more time. And again, like the point that I was making on Saturday was like, well, when does PlayStation get involved, or how involved do they get with this, or do they even have the infrastructure to say, hey, this is how we get involved, right?
I agree.
Without tapping somebody else on the shoulder in, hey, I thought you had Bungie. What? I thought that's why they were there when you have these types of things happen.
They're too busy right now checking Bungie right now. It's literally a tweet from VGC that just got posted a minute ago, where Sony's president wants Bungie to be better at assuming accountability for development timeline. So there's room for improvement in business perspective at the Destiny studio. Like, they're already behind the ball, so they don't have any room to.
That is not good news for. I mean, think about it. He did go. He just said it last week and that's the other thing. Like, we're tomorrow evening. Be prepared, folks, because Primetime Gaming is being invaded by the Longhouse podcast. That's right, all three. Supernova, Black Skellington, and of course Black Viking himself are all joining us tomorrow evening to kind of talk about, well, what I mean, again, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it, but it seems that PlayStation gamers and the media seem to overlook the announcement of PlayStation going third party, and everyone's like, well, it's not PC, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, that's how it starts, folks. It's the gateway drug to making more money, and we know that these shareholders want money. Don't lie to yourself. But you know something? I saved that particular topic because tomorrow evening we're going to have three slanderous ones to come in and take over the podcast and kind of let us know what their thoughts are. But for here, I think you're on to something. Does Sony actually have the infrastructure to get this fixed? The answer is I don't think that they do, guys.
They don't have the infrastructure, but they have some money where they can pay to, like, that's the thing. And that's why I agree with Steele there 100%. This is a Sony thing. You're going to have to pay to get more people to help out, like that, because the devs behind it are saying, from Arrowhead, they're saying that they don't have more people. Exactly. They need more people. So that's, that would behoove Sony to get more people on here. By the way, if you ever hear me say behoove, know that I am mocking the ponies when I do them, our Hoove brothers. But it would behoove them to get more people to help them out with this and get, guarantee its success. And now it's doing well as far as Steam goes. I don't know how long these types of games are going to last when it comes to that.
All the content's there.
We'll see how it works, right? But yeah, you're going to guarantee losing out on customers. I've already seen some people returning it, literally. I've seen some returning it, people complaining. You don't usually see that from the Sony crowd. They don't usually get verbal against Sony when it comes to things they don't like. They usually just swallow the pill and keep it moving. So I'm actually, surprised, genuinely surprised that some of them are actually like, nah, this is not good enough. So it's unacceptable in different ways, because you got existing customers that can't even play the game.
Yep.
And it's only being made worse by people who buy the game that can't get in and they're stuck in a queue. So Sony is becoming a Sony. They're going to have to step up and really put forth some money to get more people to help them out and get that situated. It's frustrating, honestly, to pay for that and not be able to get what you paid for, no matter which way you look at it. And I want to point out too, the bias, by the way, because there are plenty of games, if you go back in history, that had server issues that did not get some 9 out of 10. And I don't want to hear this journalistic stuff where, this didn't happen to us, because it's always an excuse when it's Sony that, with our playthrough, this didn't happen.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Everybody else it happens to, except for those reviewers, every single
real world people.
Yeah. It's annoying to continuously hear that excuse.
Yeah.
So you go back and you look at games like, hell, I'll go back to even a Sony product, Drive Club. Drive Club got killed because of their servers. You go back and you look at Anthem. Anthem had server issues that buried it. It helped bury it. It's not the only thing, but that helped bury it. You know what I mean? And those games did not get passes when it comes to that. And I think the media has become really soft. And me using Drive Club should be an example to point out that the media actually called them out at a time. And now they really won't in many cases. And I think this is one of them where they kind of hand waved real legitimate criticism and judgment on these server issues. Again, they're likely going to say, well, we didn't experience that, because it's always the excuse for them when it comes to that. But I don't think if this was an Xbox game, and I hate to be like, oh, what was us? But if this was an Xbox game, I don't think they would get that much leeway to have this much server issues that is causing, people problems to even get connected. I don't think they would, or any other third-party game, even if you go that route. I don't think they would get it. They would have gotten as much leeway to excuse that from happening. Hell, you look at Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, 9s across the board, and that game was a bloody mess.
You see what I mean? So, but there were some people who held it to the standard of it having its technical issues, to be fair to them. But like, for instance, I think, not ACG, but I'm sure ACG did, but what's that guy's name that Riskit is a big fanboy of? That Australian brother. I cannot think of his name. Anyway.
I know who you're talking about. It's slipping my mind.
Yeah, I can't quite picture it right now.
Is it Skill Up?
Skill Up. That's it. That's Skill Up. Thank you. And thank you in the chat. But so he, for instance, said, hey, he doesn't recommend, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, because of the technical issues. I think it's going to be more. I think we need more of that, where I think some are kind of just hand waving, ignoring this thing because the game is genuinely fun. So they're like, well, when you get in, it's fun if you can do these things. But still, I think
this
that
when
should take a point away
if.
or two. Yeah, I think that should hinder the score a little bit, maybe a point or something. A point, something should be mentioned about that, I think. And I just think they kind of get hand waved. But that said and aside, congrats to Arrowhead for turning in what is actually a good game.
It's a lot of fun. When you went, I'll put it to this way: the best compliment that I can give it is that it makes me want to go and turn on my PlayStation 5, which that hasn't been the case for quite some bit. Outside of Spider-Man, there really wasn't anything this game gets me excited because I can solo it, which I do a lot of. I do run with randos, which is great. Again, I just don't have the time to sit there for 3 hours and play. I just don't in a day. It's too hectic. So for me, I can jump into someone's game when everything is working. When you hook up with a bunch of randos and you're the fourth or you're the third and someone comes in on the back end behind you and you're working as a team, even though you're not speaking, right? And you can, if you guys want to talk, you just pop on the microphone and start talking. Normally my microphone is off. I'm just helping out everybody. When everything is working, Steel, it's freaking fun, man. It is a blast. And those last 90 seconds while you're waiting for evac and everyone is on edge, because that's when they start hitting you. It's like it's quiet. You put your code in, boop, 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 and it's quiet. And then all of a sudden you start having these holes erupt all over the place, and it becomes freaking bonkers. And there was one particular match, folks, that I wish I would have recorded. It's one of those things like, God damn it, I wish I would have recorded it. The four of us, right? Everyone picked a corner. People are dropping turrets. 4 turrets are down. And it's something like Aliens, and they're going crazy, and they're cutting down everything. People are doing orbital strikes. People are dropping, pods so everyone can, refuel their ammo. It was madness. But you know what? I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. That's how much fun it was. So when it's working, Steel, it's phenomenal. But unfortunately, it is marred by a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is just being with an online only game. I mean, with that, maybe it should have just been on PlayStation only. They wouldn't have server problems. They would have saved some money.
No one would have bought the game, though. It would have been DOA because spade to spade. That's right. Only 200,000 plus people bought it.
But it's a 9.
But it's a 9. It is a 9.
But I thought games sold consoles. No, you get a PC this time, right?
Yes, buy a PC.
Oh, and the PC crowd seems to be carrying it. Man, seems like the era we're moving into, somebody seems a bit ill prepared, huh? I guess we'll see how things move forward. But anyway, yeah, man, Helldivers is a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend it, just not right now. Yeah. I can't even get back in, and I've put probably over 30 hours into the game. Yeah, I would say hold off on it right now until they get everything resolved. It'll probably take them a couple weeks, but yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, but like someone mentioned in the chat, and I think they got a great point, and it's what we said about the always online situation. If your game is dependent on that, it absolutely should factor into your score if it's problematic for you to be online. So that's fair, I think. Shout out to those who said it in the chat. I think that's absolutely fair. If it was a Microsoft product, I would think the same. And if this was a Microsoft game, I'd be even more upset because it's 98% of the time where I'm at. So
yeah,
bro, Power World is on Microsoft side, right? Power World has 2 million people playing, and they don't have these problems. Again, they got different things going on. Helldivers is working off of being consistent. That's the thing. The thing that Helldivers is doing, and the thing that got me excited about factions, the original factions, is the community kind of thing that they have kind of going on, right? I saw somebody mentioning in the chat and saying, oh, well, it seems like PvE games where you can get the community together are like the thing. Yes, but you have to do it right. The way that Helldivers does it, it makes you feel like, hey, we are progressing towards one goal, right? No matter how many times I drop down, no matter how many times I die, I want to come out with as many resources. I want to do the best I can so it can help move towards that goal. The next time I get online, because it happened to me, the first time I went to a planet, it was like 0.015% done. And then I got and I dropped down. I was like, oh, and we finished our mission. And I was like, all right, well, there's my 0.254%.
You delivered freedom.
And then the next day I get on, it gives you that feeling like, oh man, this bar is never going to fill up. Next day I get on, hey, appreciate you for reclaiming that planet for us. Here's 10,000 reward points or whatever the case. Boom, I was able to level up some stuff. I was like, oh, this is dope. It gives you that excitement that you're looking for in games like that, and that makes it fun and engaging. It's just, I don't know, man. This is one of those games where I do think, do exclusives really matter that much? Maybe there needs to be some deals struck so there can be some proper maintenance done.
I'm going to tell you this right now, based on the tweet that you were talking about Hiroki Totoki talking about Bungie and what he had to say about last week about going to other computer platforms, which is he might as well just said Xbox. Folks, I'm here to tell you, I don't know when that is going to happen, but it's no longer an if. It is going to happen. Sony is they're in a financial crisis right now, and they are trying to figure it out. And Hiroki Totoki, basically, the way it was, Hargeet explained it yesterday, which, by the way, is in the chat. So shout out to Hargeet Chani. He was like, just imagine a Amy Hood level executive who's only about the money taking over PlayStation. Well, that is what Hiroki Totoki is compared to Amy Hood. He's not a Phil Spencer.
That's actually a good, Actually, I heard Everborn, I believe, say as much as well. This past week. So yeah, you're right that and Hargeet is right. That's definitely the same level of that. I wonder what Hiroki, because it seems like Hiroki's son is bringing us the PlayStation to the PC. You know what? You know what's funny?
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen some tried and true blue blood Hoover brothers being acceptable and being real accepting of PlayStation games going date and date now to PC.
Yeah.
Don't that bother me at all?
Different timeline, huh?
It is. And you know what's most funny to me about it is that we have accepted that a long time ago, Xbox fans. But what may end up being the end of the actual console wars might be PC. PC might save us all, where we all just won.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're gonna see. Look, we're dinosaurs, folks. Most people here, we got 700 people in the chat. I'm sure a lot of you are well over 40, like me. I'm 53. I'm gonna be 54 in September. I'm long in the tooth. I'm considered to be the old man in the room. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? And my ideologies of exclusives versus boxes is skewed. It's again, there's some things I could walk back and be like, yeah, Sea of Thieves, it makes sense, right? I'm not happy about it, but you know, what am I going to do? I will continue to push back with Halo, Gears, and Forza, and quite a few others that need to be, like that title, those titles that make people come over to your box. You can't give everyone away. You can't. But I speaking of giving away, folks, we're getting ready to get into the next topic. But before I do, I want to thank once again Highlander 001, who has once again, holy matrimony, folks, he has donated and gifted 10, not 5, but 10 double barrel gaming subscription memberships. Dude, that's just crazy that you continue to do this. I am very grateful. And of course, we are going to put it back into the community as we do with many of the super chats and the channel membership support. So once again, Highlander 001, thank you so much for the outrageous support. Folks, we got to talk about Killer Instinct 2. Now, I don't know if you've been keeping your ear to the floor, kind of like what I've been doing. Killer Instinct, one of my favorite fighting games of all time. Now, I'm a fighting game guy. Have I been that recently? No. But Street Fighter 6 is a banger. Mortal Kombat is a banger. And of course, Tekken, which I bought and I haven't even freaking played yet, is another phenomenal game.
To get that.
I saw Steel with some footage out there on Saturday. Good stuff, man. It looks really good. Mrs. Boom is quite skillful. She uses P-Jack, she uses King, and she uses Yoshimitsu. And she is pretty badass, believe it or not.
Let me tell you, I love King, man. That's one of my boys.
That's one of Josie's favorite. Well, Mrs. Boom, but her name is Josetta, if you don't know.
But yeah, Josetta.
Josette. That's Mrs. Boom's first name. That's right. But listen, the reason why I wanted to bring up a Killer Instinct is because one, Jez Corden of Windows Central was talking about it. He posed this question, which I'll pose to the chat, but also our very good brothers over at Xbox Era. We're talking about potentially Killer Instinct needing and going multiplat. So here's the thing. Jez Corden put out a tweet, as he does. Who doesn't love Jez Corden? Because I do. And he said this: should Killer Instinct 2 be fully multi-platform on day one? And in that conversation, I had put a tweet from a very phenomenal member of this community, Benji Sales, another numbers guy who always gets it right when it comes to the numbers, because that's what he does. Folks, check this out. And this is definitely food for thought. Now, again, if your inner Xbot is raging about Killer Instinct going multiplat, let me drop some numbers for you. Benji Sale is reporting that the recent fighting game sales performance goes as such, and I have it in front of me right here. Street Fighter 6, which is phenomenal in every way. It is a 90 plus meta. Has only sold in 7 months, folks, 3 million copies across multiple platforms. Look, and I have the notes here in front of me, folks, because I'm all about the evidence, evidence-based conversation. Steel. Street Fighter 6, 1 million 5 days, 2 million copies sold in around a month, and it comes to a total of 3 million around 7 months. Mortal Kombat 1, phenomenal game, like best in the series, right? Okay, nearly 3 million in under 2 months, and just squeaked 3+, just above 3 million by the end of January 2024. Tekken 8 it has sold. Now again, this is we don't have further, because Tekken just released, but it did sell 2 million copies in under 3 weeks. But even though that may sound like a lot, that's really not a lot. So what are we talking about? Well, look, Killer Instinct is going to come out. And as you know, it did very well as a launch title for the Xbox One. And look, it's a phenomenal series. But the truth of the matter is that this game fighting games are niche. And I hate to say this, and I know it's going to piss off a lot of people, purists. I think in order for this to have longevity, to continue to build characters, to continue to build other maps, to bring in other characters, to continue this, it's going to have to be a gas game of some sorts. Now, does it launch as a full price game versus a gas game? I'm not sure.
It should.
It should, by all means, it should launch as a gas game, sell you, the season of characters or whatever it is. But I think that this game could see significant life if in fact it is released. And I know folks, I'm not bending a knee about, Mr. Xbot here. I'm just being a realist. This is one of those games that I think that if you're seeing Tekken, Street Fighter, or Mortal Kombat barely squeak out above 3 million copies sold between the three of them, Killer Instinct is going to have to come out, and it's going to have to, unfortunately, for the purpose of its succeeding and living past its initial release, be on every platform. Does anyone have a problem with that? I'll go first to Steele with and think what you have to say about this.
Do I have a problem with it? No. But we do have to realize that this starts to go against the ideology that a lot of people have about exclusives. Because if a fighter can do it, no matter what the reasoning is behind it, right? These are the conversations that we have. Now, of course I would think so. It's a multiplayer game. Fighters have become this thing that we all sat next to each other and enjoyed, and went to a place and went to arcades and enjoyed. To become great once again, but they're not what they once were in many ways. So those do need to be put in as many places and in many communities as possible, just like many other multiplayer games should. So if Killer Instinct is going to be allowed to go over there, then how will we excuse any other multiplayer game where that same ideology could be used for those other games? We're just like we talked about with Helldivers. It needs to go to as many platforms as possible to be able to sustain their base. If it was just on PlayStation, we see how things would have played out. Numbers speak for themselves. So, and I think it's going to be the same thing with Killer Instinct. I think that Killer Instinct is the less relevant out of the fighters that you just named. Much less relevant, unfortunately. Now, that could be just my personal opinion, but from what I have seen over the years, and unless they release a full price game day one, when I say full price, I mean for a fighter, I would consider anything between $40 to $60 a good full price game. I I think that would be its biggest road to success. Why? Because on Game Pass, you're going to get it as part of your service, guaranteed, and everybody else is going to have to pay for it. And if it does become this grand thing again, like I remember people talking about back in the day when they stepped into Killer Instinct, and like you have mentioned, when you heard that combo breaker and all that stuff back in the day, as much as it may not be my thing, because I'm the Tekken dude, right? Dead or Alive, Soul Calibur, I'm that guy, right? So when it comes to games like this, if it is going to get that base again, then you have to open it up. You have to make it, and this could be a moneymaker for Microsoft as well. It could be another one that is a part of that strategy that they have, right? I just want people to be very aware. You know, you can't excuse one just for one reason and not have consideration for other games that are going to be just like this one. That are going to need to be in as many hands as possible. So I'm excited for it to see it drop. I'm gonna definitely play it in Game Pass when it comes out. See how I'm feeling about it. Didn't really jive with the last one that came out. I even played it again when Ram and them dropped in there. I believe that they dropped the Arbiter as well. And that stuff was
quite a few nice guest characters in there.
Yeah, they did. And that stuff felt cool, and I like seeing those things. And the same thing with Mortal Kombat has done. So. Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how they play out. But that's kind of my thoughts on it so far.
I mean, folks, like I said, look, I think, you know, there are, and I keep using this thanks to Everborn Saga, there are sacred cows on each platform that have no business being anywhere else for the fact that it represents the core of what makes it that brand. You can pick whoever you want for Nintendo. You can pick whoever you want for PlayStation. Have at it. For me personally, I think that the three pillars that everyone made fun of for years in Forza, Halo, and Gears need to remain under the banner of PC and Xbox only. Mm-hmm. I do not see a world where they have to go anywhere else, because I think you dilute your brand. And I'm going to keep saying this until someone at Microsoft tells me I'm right. What you do is, besides diluting your brand, these are your pillars. You start to evaporate the character of what makes your brand the brand. And these three, I'm sorry, I again, I'm going to die on this hill. I don't care. You must have brand identity if you want to sell your brand to new players. Obviously, for PlayStation, they have a different way of thinking. They're going to do a different strategy. Nintendo's going to march to their own drum. Well, Microsoft is going to try and sell you on Game Pass through incredible first party, incredible second party, indie, and of course, deals that they have. Getting games like, for instance, the Bluey game is in Xbox Game Pass. That doesn't mean anything to me because I don't have kids. But if you have kids, that's a freaking really big deal. That's going to be like game of the year for the kids. And it's in there. It's a big deal. Let's get your take on this, Umbra. Where do you feel? Because I see the chat, and listen, there's some purists in here, and again, we love that you're here, but I think that there are certain things that, in order for it to be viable, to make sense, to make a sequel and continue to support a sequel like a Killer Instinct, because again, just imagine how many copies of Street Fighter 6 would have sold if it was PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Yeah, that sucked when they did that before with 5, and what was that 4? Which one was that?
No, it was 5. It was 5,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They made me sick with that, and so what's so messed up about that thing, and this is why I am, if this is true, not only does it make sense, but I am a proponent of this rare occasion where this game should be everywhere. Is because it's going to give it better life, and it's going to give it more of a base for it to succeed. I hate it when they did that with Street Fighter, because I grew up on Street Fighter, and when they did that, it prevented me from getting it on Xbox at the time, on the 360. So it was like, okay, I moved on. I'm like, you're not going to force me to buy this on PlayStation. I'm not doing it. So principle for me stopped me from trying it out, and it ruined their cash flow, and it hurt Capcom I think they've learned from that, as we can see, seeing how their games are everywhere now. But yeah, I think in this occasion, when we talk about the case by case situation, this absolutely makes sense for, Killer Instinct to appear on pretty much every platform, honestly. If not for the life of it and its success, also too, because Sony has I forgot the name. What's the name of that tournament thing they own now?
Evo.
They have Evo,
right?
And I don't know if Microsoft could be a part of that even without that, but it gives it more credence to have it available for that business if it's on all platforms, and then being part of Evo.
Yep.
To build Killer Instinct back up to what it should be. It should be a relevant fighting game in everybody's eyes. We all remember playing it at arcades and things like, well, not all of us. I'm sure some of you whippersnappers in the chat are like, what's an arcade? But arcade, what is that? But seriously, like, we all remember these things that that's old enough at least, remember those things like that, and going to the arcade and seeing these things, from that to Street Fighter to Tekken to to Dead or Alive even, and so having that, I think, everywhere would absolutely help to make Killer Instinct what it should be again, for its longevity. And I want them to really put a decent budget behind the game if they're going to do it too. Don't go half-ass, right? The old saying is, there's no such thing as halfway crooks. Go all the way out. You put some, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say use a strong engine. I was going to say what I was going to say, but I stopped.
Razzle dazzle.
A little razzle dazzle. I was going to say Unreal, but I stopped myself. Use whatever proper engine you need.
Oh, okay.
Use whatever engine you need. Now, Tekken used Unreal Engine, so I'm just saying, and it's gorgeous. But whatever you choose, give it a proper budget.
Yeah.
Give these people the time they need to make something special.
Yep.
And put it on all these platforms. I don't mind stomping a Who brother head in one of these games right here. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I think the IP itself deserves that, and it's a win all the way around, because it gives it more exposure. You get more people playing, gets more money coming into Microsoft, which in turn is going to fund another sequel. So it's absolutely, I think, the smart route to go. I'm
going to throw this out there. This is again, I'm thinking like a money person. If I'm Xbox, and again, I don't agree with everything. I understand that there are limitations, but we are going to start to see, folks. Look, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm here to tell you that Spider-Man 2018 is going to launch on Xbox. That's a fact, folks. Hiroki Totoki's out there cracking the whip, and that game is not making any money for them. Hell, it's not even in their service, for crying out loud. There's going to be a time where Miles Morales, whether Sony purists or not, are going to want to believe it. It's going to go over. Now, again, I said this many times before. For me, being an OG, I don't like the idea, and I don't think I'll ever sign off on Master Chief going to PlayStation and Kratos going to Xbox. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't like it. I don't see it. It doesn't make sense to me. But something like Killer Instinct Go Multiplat makes sense, because if I'm putting on my business hat, folks, and again, some people are going to disagree with me. And as a matter of fact, let me just see who it was over here. He's not disagreeing.
I see somebody ran away.
Well, hopefully no one runs away from the podcast. I'm just trying to find the tweet. It's from Alien Ninja. Shout out to you, brother. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for participating in the chat. He says, "Sorry, Boomer. I gotta die on this hill. I don't think you guys understand the KI community. I've been there since Nintendo. It doesn't need a multiplat to have a strong fan base. And listen, brother, here's the thing. I am an OG. I played it in Nathan's Arcade when it first launched, brother. And I had the black cartridge in the Super Nintendo, which I can't believe we were able to play Killer Instinct on Super Nintendo. I've had every version of it. Going to Super Nintendo with a KI Gold. I've had it all. I'm a OG fan. But this is where I put on the money hat. Simply speaking, gentlemen, when you look at the roster of character and IP that Xbox has, it's limitless. You can add Doom Guy, Master Chief, Power Armor from Fallout, You could go buck wild.
Game Pass.
Zombie Dom. You can
Game
have
Pass.
you can have all kinds of crazy shit show up in the Xbox. But if I'm looking over on the other side, and I'm saying
$20,
$20 a character.
Skin.
Yeah, no. Think about this. Honestly, wouldn't it be freaking awesome? Wouldn't it be freaking awesome if you could use Ganondorf as the Nintendo representative or Link?
Oh, treat it like Soul Calibur did with their
dude. It's crazy. So if I'm a money person, I'm like, well, listen, we got to get this on everywhere, and if we could do guest characters, you do a Kratos, you do a Nathan Drake. You do Aloy would be a dope ass character. Come on, folks. I mean, I get it. We're blurring lines here, and people are like, wait a second, Boom. I turned into the Xbox Factor podcast, and you selling my games away. What's wrong with you? I'm just being a realist, folks.
Why are some people running away from this? I don't understand. Like, you think if you guys cover your ears and shut your eyes, that this won't happen if it's going to happen? I won't hear of it. Folks,
I mean, the legendary Yobi.
Some of y'all need to chill. Like, we're speculating.
It's speculation, folks. No one knows that it's happening. But like I said, look, people throw things out there like Jezcord. He throws little pieces, and he's fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not fishing for engagement. He's trying to get the temperature of the room. In Xbox era, whether you hate him, you love him. I love those guys. And I'm always going to support Xbox era. They threw it out there. They're hearing things. Are they right? Are they wrong? I don't know. I could tell you what shouldn't go? Starfield. Sorry, PlayStation players. Buy a PC or buy an Xbox. Elder Scrolls 6. Tough titty. You can't get it. Unless you buy an Xbox, you play it on PC. Oh, well, that's the breaks, as my pops used to say. Some games, in order to generate income and make sense to continue to support it, makes sense. Killer Instinct 2 makes sense to me. If I was the old school Boom, I'd say nothing goes anywhere, and I've said that. And honestly, there are some, I'm not budging off certain IP. This one I can wrap my head around because I want to see the game succeed. I want to see it be in places like Evo. I want to see it be a dominant fighter with the Soul Caliburs, with the Street Fighters, with the Tekkens, with, of course, all the great fighters that you know and love. And it can get there if it's available everywhere. That's just my take on it. I know a lot of people are pushing back on it. And again, I'm not going to fight you on it. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm not going to argue with you. But I think that is something that's a reality that we might see. Who knows? Who knows?
If it happens, it happens, right? I think it'll work out for the best for that game and for Xbox, honestly. But even if it is to happen, I'm not going to sit here whine about it. I just don't think what does that do for you on a specific game? Now, I have my limits.
Yeah,
now that's right. Halo going over there, then I'm going to have a problem. I'm going to act like
have a major problem. Yeah,
but I got to do it for the player base.
See, that's where I draw the line, though, because Halo
do it for the players.
Halo is a tent pole, so that's where I'm like, nah. You know what I mean? I do get it though, because that would help it, right? But more than likely. Although our Who brothers don't play multiplayer games.
They don't even play their own games.
You see what I mean?
True truths.
Yeah, they don't even play multiplayer games.
Oh, like then what?
What does that even benefit Halo? You see what I mean? That hurts it more than anything. Now, they do play fighting games, to be fair. So that's why I say I think this would help benefit if it's more in more places than just Xbox. But I guess at the same time, you can argue maybe PC and Xbox could do the trick itself too, to be fair.
But, I mean, it could. Yeah. Again, I would imagine that you'd have to test the theory by putting the game out there and potentially holding it back from other platforms as they've done in the past. KI came out, right? It was only available Xbox One. I don't even know if at that point was it on PC at the same time. I don't think it was, to be honest with you. Killer Instinct 1 when they reimagined it in 2013. I'm pretty sure it was only on. It literally launched at Xbox, and it was, it had good numbers. I played the shit out of it, and I still play it. I even bought the fight stick for it, which is rare and worth a lot of money.
As far as sales go for Killer Instinct, I think I was trying to look up some numbers. I can only find numbers that get it right above 1 million.
Yeah.
right around there. So I mean, that could be part of the reason why they struggled for so long to try to get that out. And I vaguely remember the game when I first playing it, seeing that all the characters weren't unlocked. And I was just like, why is this like this? And then seeing how you unlock the characters, or how you had to pay for characters, I was just like, I don't like the strategy. Like, this doesn't make me want to play the game. I'm used to let me unlock the characters through playing the game at least. Like, let me get the skins or something through the market. But yeah,
less and less games are actually giving you that reward. Now you got to pay for that stuff.
Yeah, they working against too many things. I'm just trying to have a fun time, man. What's going on?
Man, I'm not here for a long time.
Yeah. Well, look, let's move on, folks. Take it easy. Like I said, we're not selling the Xbox brand to anybody. Their exclusives matter. They should matter. If you're building a brand on trying to get people to subscribe to your service, you need tentpoles. You need sacred cows. There are certain on there. Hellblade 2, for instance. I'm sorry, Sony, you cannot get this game. You had it first, and now you don't have it anymore. Sony players, FYI, go to PC or buy an Xbox. That's how you're going to play Hellblade 2. And you're going to want to play it because your Lord and Savior Insomniac Games, based on their leaks, have said that moving forward, they're going to use the techniques used in Hellblade 2 to make their games even more lifelike. So obviously it's special. And that's one of the games. I'm sorry. Starfield, sorry. Elder Scrolls, the next Doom, the next Fallout. Sorry, folks. You want to play this game? Well, you got to buy an Xbox. You got to play it on PC because it's not coming to PlayStation. It's not coming to Switch. It shouldn't. And those are the types of experiences that will get people. Won't you keep, again, momentum, folks? It started with Starfield. Starfield is a AAA monster. As a matter of fact, we got a report just today that 6 million people are still playing that game. A single-player game across 2 platforms. 6 million players are still active playing that game. That is a big deal. And it is an exclusive, as it should remain one.
But, speaking of that, and that goes to a point that when you talk about how the media can control minds, I had a Hoove brother come to mind, tweet about this issue here with Helldivers, and they tried to throw it off. Well, what about Starfield as a 7? I'm like, Starfield is an 83, sir.
Yeah.
Just because IGN said it's a 7 does not mean that's it across the board. But some people are brainwashed by seeing a mediocre or at least average score, although a 7 is technically good, but still, that's how far we've been warped, that a 7 is not good enough, right? It's not good. That's considered mediocre or less than. But still, that media perception has played a part, and it's not just because of the score. It's because of the negativity of people who in media who've said these things about Starfield. Oh, it's this or it's this. It doesn't have enough of that. So it plays into these people's mind, and they'll run with that. You know what I mean? And this guy is not a bad guy. He's a pony, but he's not a bad guy. Just to say. But as far as this whole topic on the Killer Instinct thing, I just hope that it's being made. We're hearing rumors. I hope it's being made, and I hope that it's good first and foremost before anything else.
Well, Iron Galaxy is making it, and they basically come out and said that they have plans for the next 10 years for Killer Instinct. So Iron Galaxy, if you didn't know, folks, were the second developers that made seasons 2 and 3, which were phenomenal. The original developer was bought out by Amazon, and that studio was eventually closed, which is not surprising at all by Amazon standards. So yeah, it is going to come out. It is going to be a big deal. When do we get a reveal? When we get a confirmation of a big splash screen KI2 with the dun dun dun, music? Potentially this June, maybe. Maybe. Phenomenal. Actually, it's my ringtone.
Is it?
Yeah, it's my freaking ringtone. At least one of them, which is, I love it. It's I got the as a message, Ultra Combo. My nephew Tyler is always like, "Can I play it?" So I'm always doing the Ultra Combo. It's great. But look, folks, there were a lot of big takeaways from Thursday's 22-minute podcast led by Tina Amini, who did an amazing job. And obviously we got a chance to hear from the big three. And there were a lot of things that went over a lot of people's heads. Like in order to kind of get everything in, I've watched it now, I think 6 times. And every time I watch it, if you're paying attention, and that's what I'm trying to do because I want to put this out there to the ether, you learn a little bit more. And I think, Steele, one of the more important things, specifically in 2024, and again, I'm going to paint the picture for you folks. Okay. Nintendo has just announced, and obviously we thought we were getting a Switch 2 this year. Turns out that is not happening until 2025, right? When next year, I have no idea, but I know that it's been put on hold and their stock took a bit of a hit, kind of like what happened with Sony, but Nintendo is Nintendo. They're going to be fine. They're going to have a tremendous amount of games coming out, and they're just going to keep selling the shit out of the Nintendo Switch. That's just what they're going to do. So we take Nintendo as game enthusiasts, kind of put it off to the side because they always do their own thing, right? They always march to their own drum. They're going to be fine. But Sony is in trouble. They just took it on the chin where their stock lost 10 billion with a B in value. That happened this week, yesterday, folks. On top of that madness, last week, Hiroki Totoki, who again, if you didn't know, is the equivalent of an Amy Hood, he is now running PlayStation. He has put some really wicked thoughts, and he's a business guy. He's a numbers guy. He don't see console wars. He don't even know. He probably don't even know what a Kratos is, to be honest with you, but he knows how to make money. And the one thing that Sony ain't doing right now, outside of selling consoles, is making money. He even went out and visited multiple studios and was like, yeah, they have passion. They have charisma. They have great ideas, but they don't know shit about business. And he pretty much said that. So right now, folks, regardless of the success of Helldivers 2, they don't have any major first-party IP coming out in 2024. What does that say to me as an Xbox fan? They got Sony on their back foot. I'm sorry. They're staggered, man. They're on the ropes. Are they going to die? No. But they don't have anything. Yeah, they have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Part 2. I bought it. I bought the deluxe edition. I bought Helldivers, Soap Stars or Foam Stars, DOA, right? No one's talking about that game. Game's at 6, right? Nowhere to be found. But they got nothing for the back end of the year. Now, granted, they have some console exclusives, some third party. Stellar Blade is probably going to sell a nice amount for them, which it looks pretty cool. The other Samurai game looks pretty awesome. I'm buying that day one as well. So they have a few third party things happening. But the quote that I want to go to you, Steele, is this. We kind of have a peek behind the curtain because Xbox let us look, right? We got Avowed, we got Indiana Jones, we got Hellblade 2, we got Towerborn, we have Flight Sim. There might be one or two others that we kind of know coming out there. In itself, though, that's a massive lineup. And when you compare it to Sony, Sony's in a pickle, folks. But it's the quote from Matt Booty, Peaches, aka Peaches, that he said that had me perplexed, excited, and I cannot wait for June. He said, Steele, we have more than 10, and this is the key, folks, major releases in 2024. That's a big deal, folks. That went over the head of a lot of people. That should get you, as a Game Pass subscriber, super stoked, because all of those games are coming into your service. And as a first-party purist, all of those games are going to be exclusive to your box, on top of new Diablo DLC and new Starfield DLC. It's crazy. What are your thoughts on Peaches confirming that they have over 10? Those were his words. We have over 10 major releases this year.
Yeah, 10 major releases is interesting because I don't know if he's necessarily referencing first party, because they could be big second and third party deals as we continue to see them Xbox make as well. Because as far as first party, Avowed, Clockwork Revolution was the one that's based in Louisiana. That one is supposed to be, I believe, coming this year as well. If not, beginning of next year. There's some other ones that kind of escape me off and on, but just the thought of them possibly getting on track of what Phil has mentioned before. He kind of wanted to get on track of like a game a quarter, right? Even if it's for first party at least. And if this is the beginning of that avalanche, that's going to be interesting to see how this ends up kind of portraying itself. Because does this end up carrying over into 25 to 26? Is this what we're going to expect from these years moving forward? Because then you could be possibly setting a bad precedent, because there are some rumors there too where Xbox may be not necessarily front loaded, but like maybe front to middle loaded, and some other things on the back end may run into some things, or maybe they come in next generation. Who knows? So it's kind of like there's a lot of gray area that we're going to be weaving in and out of here. But just the excitement of Xbox doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on not only Game Pass, but letting us know that there is care being put into the brand. If anybody had any doubts, any faith, or you thought your library was going somewhere, well, boom, here's Matt Booty slapping you upside the head, telling you that we're going to get 10 of whatever you want to consider. He considers 10 high quality games coming into your service, right? So being part of the ecosystem. And also on the back half of that, we're also getting information here recently that supposedly cloud gaming is supposed to transition over to all of your games. So if you own the game, you'll be able to stream it through the cloud, which is another thing that they've been talking about for some time. So it's like, boom, you have these 10 essential big games that could be coming out this year, and you also have that, so you could be playing these 10 games on the cloud right on your phone, already establishing or at least starting that vision that they were kind of pitching to people. So that's what gets me excited when you talk about that 10. Seeing Sony not have much outside of their second and third party deals. And again, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, they're always going to be given that grace for that. But again, if we did that for Xbox at 22, I'm going to be consistent like I always am with Sony. And hey, what's going on for you this year? Not much else. We know about Wolverine, and everything else that we know about isn't necessarily first party. And again, Helldivers isn't even first party for them. So it's like, but they are getting some of the credit for that. So it's like, it's going to be really interesting come June, because that was another thing that was teased during that podcast as well, that there's going to be some additional things that we should be excited for then. So maybe Sony shows something around that time to be competitive, because again, regardless of how you take it, that their most recent showcase that they did or whatever got some people really excited. So some people said it was a 9 out of 10 for them. Again, it's crazy to see one side anteing up the other side, and I know people are anticipating for it to go right back to that tick for tat. Oh, this is the competition that we want. I think this tit for tat is going to go tit for tat for tat for tat. Once Microsoft gets his ball rolling, then we're going to be having a bit of a different conversation when it's considered from that blue side. So.
Yeah, and add some more conversation to the 10 major releases. What's interesting, and I think that he meant it, he didn't say it, but we did learn that all ABK games, which there was some question whether or not the ideology of Game Pass was going to change, CO. That, in fact, is not the case. Game Pass is going to remain the same. He confirmed it, meaning Matt Booty, that all of our studios and their games will be in Game Pass first and day one in launching on the service. That includes Call of Duty, Black Ops, Gulf War. I would consider that a major release. And folks, if you're a PlayStation player, I understand there's libraries and everything, and people aren't going to just put their systems out on the doorstep and go get something new. But I think there's something to be said, Steele, about all ABK games going into Xbox Game Pass as well. That confirmation, along with the 10 major releases, is a big deal.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, I don't really have any additional thoughts to add on off of that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, again, this was again not the biggest topic of the show for sure, but certainly one worthy of a conversation, because I think there is something to be said about one versus the other. Sony, look, they have a nice amount of third party stuff.
Right.
Being the Helldivers is a huge success for them. That's freaking awesome.
Can I throw something out there that I'm sure many in the chat are going to revolt? I'm going to be called a pony bot and put on some type of video or something along with Crap Gamer and all these other guys in a second. I'm pretty sure of it. But is it just me, or does anybody else have the doubts about how Microsoft is going to handle Call of Duty going to Game Pass?
What do you mean?
I have some type of doubt. I feel like that word, that corporal speak they gave us recently, it seemed like they kind of danced in my opinion. I know they said first party ABK games would be going to Game Pass. I wonder if they're really going to stick to that when it concerns Call of Duty, knowing how much money it brings in just through sales. I'm just wondering.
I mean, I mean, it's a great question, Umbra, and still I'll let you go in a second, but I have some pushback for it, because here's my thoughts. Call of Duty is the biggest game of every year. Not last year. The biggest game was Hogwarts. That was the biggest selling game, well over 30 million copies sold. I think it was 34, if I'm not mistaken, in total, which is madness, right? I don't know how did that beat Call of Duty. Well, it didn't. Call of Duty for a lot of people wasn't the greatest of releases. A lot of people didn't like it. I dug it. I quite enjoyed it. But there is something to be said about, we know what Microsoft and Xbox, what their platform looks like to them. And that includes, first and foremost, Game Pass. How are you going to go from 34 to 40 million subscribers? Well, you put something like Call of Duty Black Ops Gulf War in there. Now, here's my thought. I understand that the initial 76.43, if you buy the game here in New York, times, $1 million, 2 million, 3 million, is hard to deny. That is that one shot that you get, and that's the kind of business they're used to. But here's the thing, and again, this is just me trying to jump into the head of the gamers. Steele, push back if you think I'm going too far.
Okay.
As a gamer, when you get a game that you would have easily bought for $76.43, or even the $100 edition, because that's who the gamer you are, because you like all the extra bonuses you get for the multiplayer, right? You buy it, it's $100, $108 after tax. You're happy. You do it every year. No question to ask. But if you can get that game in your service for $16.99, you are probably more likely to spend more on microtransactions because you felt like you got the game for free.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, hell, even with games like Helldivers, since it was so cheap, $40 or whatever, you start to feel the same way. Although I will say their armors and such and microtransactions don't look that appealing to me overall. But still, I
bought one. I bought the white armor that looked like the Stormtrooper.
Yeah, that's the one that
cool. I bought.
Yeah. But I don't know. Were you asking Steele this? Because I didn't mean to cut you off, Steele.
No. I mean, Steele, jump in. Obviously, Umber, jump in. It's just my thought and theory, because obviously, you have questions about the sale of Call of Duty. Will they lose it? I don't think they're going to lose money, because the same PlayStation players that buy it every year, especially at Black Ops, are going to rush out to buy this. I think the difference is what you might see is people who normally only have played on PlayStation may look over. Now, remind you, this is going to be the first year since like the Xbox 360 days where Microsoft has sole marketing. They're going to be able to put whatever picture it is on every box that they sell. And obviously, they're going to be running to the top of the ringing the bell. Hey, it's in Game Pass. And people, I'm sorry, man. I know there's a lot of people. Oh, boom! You got to understand, no one's going to abandon their digital collection. I'm not saying that you should, but maybe this move And also, on top of that, getting all of the prior Call of Duties in one location, that's going to move some people over. Now, they may not sell their PS5s, but they may
Not yet,
consider
even
buying,
at least not immediately. But
not
like,
immediately.
yeah, like that's the whole preposition. We've talked about this so many times, and the thought of Call of Duty being into the service absolutely will pull people to that, right? I just hope Microsoft doesn't pull some type of trickery and, well, we had to. I don't know, something. I don't know what it is. I don't
To your
know.
point,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that this year's Call of Duty, and I think that's why you might feel that way.
Yeah.
Where it feels a little bit skittish or feel like they dance around it. Because I do think there's still some contractual things that we're not aware of. That they still have to uphold, right? But I do think, to Boom's point, for the future, even if it is this one or not, for the future Call of Duties, they will come into Game Pass, because to Boom's point, they're not going to necessarily lose money, because you are, at least for me, it works all the time for me. If I get a game for free, they have a store in there, I'm more inclined to drop a little 20 bomb and whatnot in there and get a little something. You know, I like looking cute, you know. I like looking fly. You know,
hey, you like me? I like looking fly when I'm going out there killing people.
Hey, I'm just saying, I gotta feel good when I'm out there. But so, and I think that way, and I think they make a lot more money off of the game that way, or as well, especially if they keep this cadence of Call of Duty up the way that they do. Again, I have my own quarrels about that, because I would rather see them maintain some form of consistency like they have with Modern Warfare. I think that's dope, carrying over skins and whatnot. Just gives you that added community kind of thing going on. Man, I got this skin from this game way back. But anyway, but yeah, I don't think that they are scared to put it on there for that exact reasons. It's going to work in the hand of the consumer, and it just takes one friend telling their friend, "Hey, Jimmy, you don't have to get a PlayStation. You can just get this Xbox. It got Game Pass, and you don't even have to worry about it." And I know people are like, "Well, if that's the only game that they play, and my macroeconomics say they should just pay for the game outright, and they'll never play any other game again other than Call of Duty or Fortnite," then, I mean, I guess I can hear your point. How likely is that to happen, knowing how consumers are? Then not very likely. They're going to get in there. They're going to find some more things. That's how you get people into the ecosystem. And again, that's what makes Game Pass such a wonderful play as far as the gaming industry goes, because it's just that little taste that you get, and then boom, day and date, and you get, you know, untapped potential.
Yeah.
So
I hope they just stick to that. I hope it's no trickery.
I hope so. Yeah,
I hope they do that, because that's one of the things that, and I know a lot of people felt this way, even with some of the games, the 4 games, for instance, they're talking about. Like, we haven't even got the promise of the games that they're working on yet. So it's like, let us get some of this stuff before you like, oh, here, we're going to share this over there. So I don't want them to try to pull some reverse card on us. And it's like, well, we had to change plans and this, you know, and do this now, even though they haven't even tried the plan that we all thought they would, which is have it day and date in service and sell it on everywhere else, you know. So I'm just hoping that they stick to that and they don't deviate. But we'll see how it works out, I guess.
Yeah.
But going back to your main topic though, Boom, what was the question on the main topic? Because I deviated, my bad.
Well, no, it's I mean, really what it came down to was the fact that it was confirmed that Xbox has 10 major releases happening this year. Now, again, Steele brought up a great point. Is that all first party? I mean, you know, we don't know. I mean, what's considered major releases? Is that Stalker 2? Is that part of it? I mean, I would consider that a major release. That is a console exclusive. Is it a permanent exclusive? No, but they have no plans to port it over to PlayStation 5. And I'm going to be honest with you, since that was said over a year and a half ago, maybe things have changed. Maybe it is going to be a console, a permanent console exclusive. So that would be considered a major release. But I think that when you look at what Sony is doing this year, yes, they have a hit with Helldivers 2. I'm playing it. We're all playing it. When it works, it's great. I'm sure, like myself, there are going to be people that run out to buy Final Fantasy VII Part 2 or Rebirth. People are going to buy it. How many people are going to buy it? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think a lot, because only 5 million people bought Final Fantasy VII, and maybe a few million, maybe a million after that when they released the PlayStation 5 version with the upgrade.
I played the demo for that, by the way.
I saw what you said. You said you were unimpressed with it.
I didn't like it one bit.
Which game?
Final Fantasy Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I didn't. Well, the combat I'll say was kind of all right, and I've heard it gets better. And I had by the way, I've never played remake, so some people were like,
okay.
If you play remake, you'll kind of understand more how it expands and gets better. So maybe that's the case. But I will say the dialogue was ultra cheesy, where I was like, nah, this ain't gonna do. And I'm talking about beyond the standards I'm used to for even Japanese titles. I just was not feeling that, and I don't care to any game like this where you got somewhat decent freedom of movement where you can run and attack when you want without a jump button. It's just harmful. It's like, why did you do this?
Okay, I get what you're saying.
There's no jump button in that game, and like I said, I just don't care for the dialogue. I don't care for how the world is made. You just run around. This feels like this void of a world to me. I didn't. I like.
Okay.
I like Final Fantasy 16. I platinumed that and the DLC, even though the DLC was weak to me. But I enjoyed that for what it was. This I played, at least of the demo, to be fair. I can't write the whole game off, but from what I played, I did not like.
Give your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think they have Sony on their back heel in 2024. Sony's going to release a Pro edition of the PlayStation 5. I'm interested to see whether or not the gaming media gives it the same rhetoric they gave the Xbox series, the Xbox One X when it released with no games. And they were like, how could you release a new console with no games? And well, that looks like that's what's going to happen with Sony. They're going to release the PS5 Pro, which I'm not buying for.
You guys think they're still going to do that? I feel like
I don't know.
Like they're not now. It feels like now they're going to change.
I mean, at this point, they might as well follow through with it.
I guess, like going through, but they ain't got no games for it. What they're gonna give us? Like, you got some more.
I mean, you get the narrative back, right?
They'll throw a remake in there or three.
Yeah.
But you get that narrative back. Xbox trying to run with we're the most powerful console, and then PlayStation takes it back, and you get Digital Foundry spinning up videos about how much better games look on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and that's how you get people in there. And then everybody who already has a PlayStation goes to GameStop to change out their PlayStation for another PlayStation. Unless it doesn't expand the player base.
Unless now Microsoft actually drops their new hardware in 26, like the rumor is spreading. And then what? All then not.
Are they on the back foot at that point? Do they release a Pro and then boom, Xbox comes out with one in 26 and they have nothing?
Two in 26 of the road. One's a handheld and one's a powerful console underneath the TV.
Yeah, if they do that, I mean, do they go without another console for 2 years? I don't know, man. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Good question. Definitely good question. But listen, gentlemen, we do have one more topic before we get everyone on out of here because it's only 1:30 and we still have half an hour. This comes the way of Phil Spencer. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of talk, gentlemen, about digital libraries. Mm-hmm. Like, how are we going to preserve what we have paid for? Right? Like, that's, to me, I've always said, I don't understand. I have a library that has over 1,000 games. And unless those games are in Xbox Game Pass, I have no access to them in the cloud, which is a little weird, right? Well, that's about to change, folks, because Phil Spencer was answering some questions with several in a DM. And it was really Phil Spencer. It's no BS. It was Phil Spencer. And he confirmed that coming this year, all of your purchased games are going to be playable via the cloud. Now, granted, is the cloud the best way to play these games? Probably not, because I've seen some horror stories, people waiting 30 minutes to play a game. That's definitely, they're going to have to tighten this up if they're going to get this to work. But, Steele, I think this does answer. And look, to be fair, folks, if there is one platform that is going to represent its consumer in the best light possible, it's definitely Xbox. If you look at Nintendo, they'll just have you buy the game again, and most of us will buy the game again. That's how they roll. The Sony, I mean, can you play PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 games that are that you can download? You can't if you bought it. You can't play your PSP games. They closed that store. So if there's one of the platforms that's going to seriously sink their teeth into, what keeping your library alive, especially with what you've purchased, it's going to be Xbox.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, man?
Xbox is definitely, they've been working toward this strategy the entire time, which is why it was funny to me why everybody was throwing up their arms and thinking that Xbox was going to get rid of the library all of a sudden when all the rumors and everything were going around. I was sitting here questioning myself, like, I mean, how long have they been repeating that they are invested in your library and they want to make sure that you continue to have access to those things? And then with this, it just speaks even further to that notion by giving you more access, right? That's what makes the future extremely interesting for me, and why I think the way that we look at consoles is going to change. Because if you're going to move that direction, especially with their the play that you were talking about, Boom, earlier with the two consoles, the smartest way would to makes things even more PC-like. Because that's what you're developing everything for now, and I don't think that's going to go away. Mainly because that's going to end up costing you way more money than you need to end up spending, especially for the types of games that come out now. Games have finally caught up with the hardware, right? Where they were trying to make things in their own way and R&D things specifically for consoles. I think they should still apply a lot of that, but apply it to see how we can get that PC experience in a console, or more so. I mean, Xbox is already on the back of Windows and whatnot, and now that the Windows team is seemingly, they're part of Microsoft, since gaming is a pillar to them now. Now that gaming is a pillar, Windows is probably more likely for sure. And again, Windows Lite has been getting worked on in the background. It just seems like all the ducks are getting lined up in a row to be shot all in the right manner for Xbox moving into the future for this generation, especially as they keep telling the fans, hey, we want to give you guys access in many places and as many ways and however it's possible. And there's going to be some sacrifices that are going to be made. And again, we had teased a little bit of that with how you guys feel about exclusives and whatnot. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But these games being available on the cloud, that gives me easy access when I'm traveling or anything else like that. If I got good internet around me, that I'll be able to turn on my Xbox remotely, play whatever game that I got downloaded. Because that's the number one thing that bothers me. It's like, oh, it's so many in between games. Even if I thought about playing on there, so many in between games that do or do not work, and they're never the games that I want. And I don't know. And I think we're still a bit of a distance away, even to my liking for cloud gaming. But the access is always going to be something I can't deny. So.
Yeah, and listen, having access to your games that you paid for, whether you like me, like I have over 1,000 games that I've purchased. And that's what I love about Xbox. I can play games going all the way back to the OG Xbox. If I want to play Knights of the Old Republic, I could play it. Yeah. If I want to play Cameo, for instance, from the Xbox 360 days, that was a launch title.
Which they need to bring back, by the way.
Which they absolutely need to do. Cameo was dope. That's a great rare game. I guarantee a lot of people don't even know what the hell we're even talking about. Cameo, what are you talking about?
They'll be just as lost as arcade when they hear it, huh?
Yeah, phenomenal.
What's that?
Again, it's like the arcades. Not like we're OGs here. Listen, real quick. Bold Alpha Wolfpack drops a very generous $5 super chat steal, and he says the fighting game community is too small. It's bad to splinter it further, or fighters will die out. Steel, tell him, please.
And
100%. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's a niche. I hate to say this. I mean, back in the day, fighters were like the shit, and now they're there, and we love them, and I buy every one of them. I still buy Guilty Gear when it comes out, even if it's a PlayStation exclusive. I'll buy it there because I like Arc System Works. I think they're a phenomenal developer. But not everybody.
Here to all fighting games and everything Xbox going on PlayStation. I'm joking. Let me stop messing with people before they.
People are going to revolt. You know what?
Hey, I'm messing with everybody, so don't Don't go too
So look,
ham on me.
Umbra, I have the tweet in front of me. Nico, Niko Muller. He actually is the one that put this out there, and he says this. Nicholas, which of course at sberg85 answered and confirmed his conversation with Phil Spencer, and Phil Spencer has confirmed to him that we will be able to play our whole gaming library via xCloud in 2024. And I have the tweet here, and it goes on to say that exactly that he says that it's coming in 2024. I think this is a really big deal. I think game preservation is something that a lot of people take for granted. I know a lot of people are like, hey, this is not the conversation I tuned in for. Well, you probably should, because this is a conversation that not many other podcasts are going to have, but you should. Your games that you bought matter, and they should matter to you as a consumer. Even if you haven't played said game in 5 years, you paid for it, you own that game. You should be able to play that game via the cloud on any device. And we have confirmation from Phil Spencer himself that that is happening. I kind of think it's a big idea. It's a big deal. Umber, what do you think, man?
It's absolutely a big deal to me, at least. But then, again, I guess I'm that type of gamer where I have all of these different devices. I mean, to be fair, with Microsoft and their approach, you all have all the devices you need to with your phone. So get yourself a Razer Kishi or a Tail. What do they call the other one for the iPhone? The Backbone. And, even if you don't have a raw guy like myself, and I think all of us here, or something of that nature, you have many ways to play those games. And like you said, but for me though, like part of my, like I would have so many more games completed if I stopped going back to older games. So that's priceless for me, because I go back to games like that all the time, and I go and play that and put hundreds more hours into whatever I played before, just to relive that again. So it's invaluable to me. Having all of them to be able to allow to be played through the cloud like that, or whatever, or to what should I say, all your own games to be played digitally like that across the cloud or through streaming or whatever, however they might allow it, or maybe even installing it maybe through the Xbox, like for instance with the ROG, for instance. Since it's a Windows enabled device, that right there I think is not only dope, but like you said, games preservation. Microsoft, if we had to go to who handles it best outside of PC, it's clearly Microsoft, and that just continues that. Now, we had some people who were like, is that really Phil that said this? I had one conversation with Phil ever, if you want to call it that, where I just wished him a happy holiday. I told him you're doing good, and say, hey, happy new year, brother. This was many years ago, and he wrote back very much the same way that response looks on that thing. So when I saw it, I'm like, that looks pretty much exactly how he wrote to me.
Right.
The same way, and was like, hey, you too, real simple.
Yeah.
So I mean, that doesn't mean that they couldn't fake that, but I'm just saying, like, I thought it was legit immediately when I saw it, and it just makes sense. It goes in line with the idea that they want, accessibility everywhere for their games. I think it's just smart. And like you said, Boom, I think people underappreciate these things, and it's one of those things that, like, you don't appreciate until it's gone.
Yep.
So this matters right here a lot, and it's crazy. It's a crazy contrast actually for me, because I can go to a different instance where, for instance, just cloud saves. Just something simple like cloud saves. Going to PlayStation, when I went to go and play that when I moved to the PS5, and I just noticed I couldn't play any of my old stuff. Was all missing. All my saves and things like that. And it's like, I'm like, what the hell is my stuff? And I'm like, oh, that's right, you got to pay for this nonsense. Whereas Microsoft,
that's right, behind a paywall. I don't think a lot of people know that, Umber. I think what he's referring to, folks, if you didn't know, cloud saves on Xbox free, which it should be, right? It makes sense. Cloud saves, big deal. Not on PlayStation, unless you have an active PlayStation Plus membership. You do not have access to your cloud saves. And if you don't renew by a certain time, those cloud saves are freaking gone.
They're out of there. And somebody asked a good question, because now this is a tricky part. Let me see this. It's Thriller.
Thriller Ali. I was going to get to that. Yeah, that's good. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question actually, because and like you, Nino, I love Rise. By the way, he said he loaded up and he saw that he could continue. Yep, I think that's so dope. But yeah, you want to read that, Boom? Or you want me to read it with Thriller?
Let me see if I can find it. It was here with. You go ahead, read. If you have it in front of you, read it, because I lost it.
So Thriller Ali says, "What about ABK games via cloud? How will my own Activision games library still work through Ubisoft?" Now that's a good question. We're going to need Jez Gordon to step up on that one, because
he actually tweeted over the weekend something about that with the UK stuff. That is that it has to go through a certain through certain something. Yeah,
I'm actually wondering about that too, brother. So I'm not too sure. I don't know how that's going to work, because through the agreement they've had, Ubisoft has to handle that.
Yep.
I don't know how that affects us going forward with those games, actually, with ABK games, because they can't just be on Microsoft servers directly to us, right? It has to go through Ubisoft.
Yep.
So do we have to pay for Ubisoft to do that? I don't know how they're going to do that, actually. I need more understanding on that as well. So yeah. I just want to highlight that question, because I think it's vital and it's worthy for us to actually get more information on going forward, because I don't know. I really do not know and have the answer to that. But yeah, I hope they figure something out. And I mean, it goes to a lot of different things, because the whole way the ABK thing goes in general, like for instance, Diablo 4 finally coming to the service. That's not for the core. Yeah, that's not for the core gamers though. That's only for the other tiers in Ultimate. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to have to be some explaining going on with how they're going to handle ABK with the cloud saves and gaming sometime soon. I'm not too sure.
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like I said, I don't think anyone really puts into account, because we're finicky gamers, right? All of us are. We got over 600 people still here, right? We can admit that we beat a game. Some people don't ever go back to a game. You like Randolph was a perfect example of that. He beats a game, he deletes it. That's it. It's gone. It's done. He'll go back in. He'll try and get the 1,000 out of 1,000, because of course he's the man with a million, or a hell of a lot more millions now. So he's going to go out of his way. He'll go in there. He'll run through. He'll get some achievements. He'll try to top out his achievements on said game. He deletes it. See, I have numerous hard drives. Games I'm not playing, I back ended on the HDDs. On the card or on the console, the games I'm going to play. That's going to take up the memory. But I think that knowing that your games that you purchased are going to be available via the cloud. Now, granted, I'm not a cloud guy. I think Scott Gamer Dude was in here saying that if it's not downloaded directly, it's not for him. I'm right there with you. I'm not a cloud gamer. I want to handheld, download the game to the hard drive. That's how I want to play natively. Yes.
Yeah, natively is best. That's why I love the Rock. You can natively store those games. I played Starfield on there. Stored that natively. What is that, like 86 something gigabytes? Like I stored that straight to the device, played through it, and got home and played through it. Now I learned a tough lesson recently with Power World, as I told y'all. Where I was level 40 with all that good stuff.
That's a horror story. That makes me quit the game and not play again. That's it.
It did. I put the game down after that. I was like, you know what? That might be one last achievement I'm not going to get, but that really upset me. So that's why I was saying earlier, with that 45-minute sessions ruined, I think I'd have been like, that's a wrap. But yeah. Okay, so according to Mr. Joanna Dark, shout out to that brother. He says that, let me go back. He says it's part of the Ubisoft Connect software, which provides cross-profession. And he says you just have to have the software. So I guess as long as we have the software of Ubisoft Connect installed, we should be able to cloud play our games. That's what I'm taking from that, Mr. Joanna Dark.
Sante actually expands on that. He says, I'm not saying that it's 1-to-1, 1 + 1 = 2 here. But Helldivers 2 on PlayStation on PC uses PlayFab and Azure services, so there isn't any reason why Ubisoft couldn't continue to use those services, even if it's not Microsoft MS directly. If that clears it up for anyone that's have any doubts as to what's going to happen with ABK games, because obviously they are going to go through Ubisoft. Look, like I said, folks, not the grandeur topic of the show. I think that's important to talk about. Having the ability to play a game that you bought, even if you bought a game 6 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, if you bought it, you should be able to play it. And I like the fact that Microsoft, or specifically Xbox, and Phil Spencer, who's at leading the charge of this, game preservation is crazy important. I know it doesn't mean a lot for a lot of people, but I think that Steele said it. You don't really know it, or realize it until it's gone. If you don't have access to a game that you bought, that's kind of sucks. So I do like this. Again, not for me, cloud gaming, definitely not for Boom, but I still think it's worthy of a conversation. And again, folks, I think that first of all, I didn't know we were going to get to all 4 topics. We got to them. And now we don't have to race to the end to get to outros, because we can do it peacefully now. Listen, folks, this was a great show. Hopefully the 700 people that were here, big thank you to everyone that tuned in. If you're new and you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. And more importantly, while you're here, if you don't mind, hit the like button. And if you're feeling extra generous, Steele, have the people share it out on social media. Let the Xbox fans know that there is a show for them that is not going to use negativity or clickbait to get them in here. And I think we have pretty good conversations. Now, granted, not everyone's going to agree, but at least we can have a conversation. Now again, it's Steele. It's let's sell your brand, kind sir, because obviously Living Split Screen is a show that if you're not already subscribed to, well, I'm here to tell you folks, you're doing it all wrong, because him and Pong Soul put out a 3, 4, sometimes even 5-hour show on a Saturday morning. And you know something? It's fire opinions. They don't always agree, but like good brothers, they will tell each other about themselves. Talk about it, brother. Sell the brand of Living Split Screen, where they can subscribe, help you to your lofty goal of, what is it, 3 or 5K in 2024. Let's talk about it, man. Sell the brand.
Yeah, man. So we're trying to drive that number onward and upward to 3K this year. It's going to take a lot again, depending on how life treats us or whatnot, and depending on how time looks. We'll hit that number for sure. But nonetheless, definitely hit us over on Living Split Screen, a non-console-centric platform that talks about everything going on within the gaming industry. Again, home of that RTS approach, and part of the reason why I also bring that ECP, otherwise known as that educated consumer perspective, because we don't work in the industry. At least we don't on this battle for sure. And we just try to bring our professional experience, our gaming experience, and come to sit down as brothers, have a conversation, not really hit each other over the head too hard or nothing like that. And if we do it with respect and love and care, and then, get the chat involved and everything like that. And shout out to the chat, y'all, again, being extremely lively. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out of the door, because the Xbox Factor podcast is where you should be every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central. You can also find me there, so there's a part of that, along with Live a Split Screen. And then, other than Saturdays with Live a Split Screen, this Sunday, we're going to start Pixelated Echoes with my brother 3-Bit.
Nice.
Again, he's a dev that's in the industry. He's been at it for quite some time, so it's going to be really interesting to pick his brain and get his perspectives. And again, when we have devs in the industry to kind of try to talk with us and give us a little bit of a peek behind that curtain, I think it does us well to kind of tune in. So that's going to be interesting. And we're going to do that at 1 o'clock Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. So definitely tune in for that if you can. And other than that, much love, everybody. Greatly appreciate you for tuning in. And I'm going to get on out of here and get my daughter picked up. Much love.
Yeah, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Definitely appreciate that. Real quick, Nino Vestic drops gifts a 1 Double Barrel Gaming membership. Folks, that is crazy generous of you, Nino Vestic. Appreciate the generosity. And folks, if you got that, if you became a channel member thanks to his generosity, or of course Highlander 001, please throw them a thank you, because they don't have to do that, and they consistently do it on a daily basis, which is incredibly kind and generous. And here at Double Barrel Gaming, Mrs. BoomStick and I certainly and truly appreciate the generosity. Infinite Umbra, let's sell your brand, brother. You got a show on Thursdays called The Fix. And that happens each and every week. You and Danny do your thing. I don't know what the conversation is going to be. I tell you what the conversation is going to be tomorrow night with, of course, the Longhouse podcast. All three members joining us on Primetime Gaming with Kay Asante and, of course, Hargi Chani. We're going to talk that talk, folks, because the gaming community known as the PlayStation media, they don't want you to know about PlayStation going third party, but there was a lot to be had about the conversation with Hiroki Totoki, and we're going to have that conversation tomorrow night because I think it's a conversation that the gaming media and the PlayStation loyalists don't want you to have. They want you to think everything is fine over there. It's not. And we're going to break all of that down. But where could people tune in each and every week with you and Danny for the fix, where they can subscribe, and more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yes. Boom. Thank you. And our brother Steele, who stepped away, for, holding us down and then having me on the show. Much love to the chat family. I know I got on some of y'all nerves today purposely, by the way.
I don't think so. I think we had a good conversation. Again, some people get upset, but folks, we're not here to make you upset. We're here to make you laugh. Put on the thinking cap.
Have some fun.
Ultimately have some fun. Yeah.
And speculate. Everybody speculate. Speculate only when it's good. When it's bad, they like, oh, don't you do that. It's like, come on, y'all. Take the good and the bad. You take the good, you take the bad. Okay, I'm sorry. The facts alive. The facts alive. So yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter X, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. Of course, on Thursdays, The Fix. I have posted it in the chat, so if you all could subscribe to it, brother, to hear more of my takes and have me upset you even more on Thursdays, come by and support us. We love you. And of course, you'll find me also on the Infinite podcast, myself, Risk It, for the Biscuit, Holly, that blue number, and in general, our brother Jedi Knight Peter. We have a rotation of guests these current weeks right now in place of that for now. So come by and show us all love. Again, my link is in the chat above. So if you guys have not subscribed to me, consider doing so and coming by for Thursday's show is really good. I think you will enjoy it. Myself and Danny. I'm trying to see who I'll get this week to formulate my topics for this week. But yeah, and I'll just say this one thing and in closing. Chat family and community, smile, be happy, cheer up. Everybody's on edge. You can't speak about things, you can't speculate, you can't joke, you can't give a thought. Like everybody's like, don't say that. How dare you?
Yeah,
relax, y'all.
Yeah.
Saying it or somebody else speculating on it does not make it reality. It's just our thoughts. That's all. It can't hurt you.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, I think that one of the things I'm proud of what we do here at Double Barrel Gaming is we have open-ended conversations. No one's pointed. No one's right. No one's wrong. I understand there are big feelings, especially because this is an ever-changing market, folks. Something is going to be done that I don't like. And I've already put it out there to the ether how I feel about sacred cows on Xbox. Same way I feel about PlayStation and Nintendo. I don't even really count them. Not that they don't count, but they do their own thing. And I'm sorry, you're just never going to see a Mario on a PlayStation or an Xbox. It's just not going to happen. That's just not how they roll. It's how these companies, meaning i.e. PlayStation and Xbox, are going to roll. They're going to change ideologies. Nintendo's always going to march to their own drum. Some people are purists. Some people want if it's green, it's green. If it's blue, it's blue, and that's where it has to be. And I'm not going to fight you on it. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. You're a consumer. You have a right to feel that way. But I am in the camp that things are going to change. I'm not going to agree with most of them. And I think that there are some things that you cannot put on other consoles, but where it makes sense is like a Sea of Thieves. Where it makes sense is a Grounded. Where it makes sense, and again, I'm not going to get into a Hi-Fi Rush because I know it didn't sell well, but I still think that should be a sacred cow. But apparently, Microsoft thinks otherwise. Fine. They're not going to hear me out. They're going to put it everywhere. I disagree with it, but I'm not going to burn the brand because of it.
We'll see how it works out. I still have doubts that it's going to do much. But we'll see. Maybe people on Switch might be like, "Oh yeah, let's do this." You never know.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I look
Hargi
at
Chani actually is in there saying Nintendo Direct tomorrow. Guess we'll find out which games that are going over there from Xbox. He's straight up, and
We'll
we're going to talk
find
about that
out.
tomorrow night as well.
The mysterious fourth game that that kind of came out of it. First we had 3, then it was like 4. So
I think it's grounded in Sea of Thieves because it makes sense.
Grounded Sea of Thieves, Pentiment. I still don't understand
And
why
Hi-Fi Rush.
I don't get Pentiment at all.
Me either. I don't know who's going to buy that, but
I enjoy Pentiment. I just don't see that moving the needle whatsoever. Why is that even there? But hey, we'll see.
Yeah.
That said, again, everybody keep your head up. It's all right. We're good.
It's going to be all right. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Going to be all right. Absolutely.
So listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the Xbox Factor podcast. Of course, thank you to the super chats and of course the channel memberships that continue to come in. They do fund our big giveaways. We have 4 big giveaways this year. They're happening towards the end of the year, and it's going to equate to about $3,500 that Mrs. Boom and I are at least giving out this year. It could be a little bit more, but we have to see how the finances look towards the end of the year. And of course, we can't do any of that without the support. So once again, a big thank you for all of the support that continues to come in. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.